Okay, today we're going to talk about zeros in the product. How do you know when you have the correct number of decimal places in your product? Okay, so students are racing typical garden snails and measuring the distance the snail traveled in 1 minute. Chris's snail traveled a distance of 2/10 foot. Jamie's snail traveled 4/10 times as far as Chris's snail. How far does Jamie's snail travel? So that's our question. Here's just a little hint that says when decimals are multiplied, the product may not have enough digits to place the decimal point. In these cases, you may need to write additional zeros. Multiply as with whole numbers. So 2 times 4 is 8. Determine the position of the decimal point in the product. Since tenths are being multiplied by tenths, the product will show what? Tenths times tenths is 100. Place the decimal point. Are there enough digits in the product to place the decimal point? So here I have 8. Can I put my decimal point in there? I need how many places after the decimal to get that to be hundredths?
2.
2. Now, the question is, so are there enough digits? No. So write zeros as needed to the left of the whole number product to place the decimal point. So you're going to have to put a 0 here, then you can put your decimal point. So 8/100ths. So Jamie's snail travels a difference of 8/100ths. Okay, there's a little blue box up in the top right-hand corner on page 191. It says, using the given information, describe what you are being asked to find. So what did we need to find? The distance whose snail traveled? Jamie's. And how are we going to do that? Multiply 4/10. We needed to find 4/10 of 2/10. So in words that might look like I need to find 4/10 of 2/10 foot to determine the distance Jamie's snail travels. So does Jamie's snail travel further or less than the other snail? Less. Because you're finding a part of a part, and 8/100ths is certainly smaller than 2/10, right? Okay, and this one we're going to multiply money. Multiply 2/10 times 30 cents. Multiply as with whole numbers. Think, the factors are 30/100ths and 2/10. What are the whole numbers you will multiply? If I were to make these whole numbers, what would they be? What would this be as a whole number? 30, right? I could multiply it times 100. And what would this be?
2.
So I would multiply 30 times 2. Determine the position of the decimal in the product. Since hundredths are being multiplied by tenths, the product will show what? Hundredths times tenths. Hundredths times tenths.
Thousands.
the decimal point, write zeros to the left of the whole number product as needed. Okay. So 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 3 is 6. Then we have another 0. And we're supposed to go in how many decimal places? 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, since we're writing this as money, what is that going to look like as money? Because my decimal has to be here. When we write something as money, do we have this 0 out here? No, and we can always drop a 0 to the right, and it doesn't change the value of the number. So, what value should you use to show cents? Hundreds, right? So 2/10 times 30 cents is how much? $1.60. Okay, so now we're moving to the try this at the bottom half of page 192. 2/10 times 5/100. How many decimal places should we have?
3.
Right. Hundreds times tenths gives us thousands, right? So we're going to multiply it as whole numbers. So 5 times 2, right? And that gives us 10. So if we have 0.5 times 0.2, we would have 2 times 5 is 10. Carry a 1, we have a 1. We need 2 decimal places here and 1 here, so we have to go 1, 2, 3. So we have our decimal. So our answer could be 0.010 to give us the thousandths. Or, because we know that if we take that decimal off here on this end, it doesn't change the value, we could have 1/100th. Okay, we're going to talk about our little math box. It's blue down at the bottom left-hand corner of your page. It says, explain why the answer to the try this can have a digit with a place value of hundreds or thousands and still be correct. Because 10 thousandths is equivalent or equal to 1/100th. Okay, let's look and let's talk about what steps did you take to find the product. First we did what? We figured out how many decimal places we were going to need in the product. Then we multiplied as whole numbers. And last we placed the decimal point in the correct position. Then we had to write a 0 to the left of the decimal point of the whole number product to place the decimal point in the correct position. First, I determined how many decimal places will be in the product. Then I multiplied as with whole numbers. Last, I placed the decimal point in the correct position. I had to write a 0 to the left of the whole number product to place the decimal point in the correct position. Let's write the 0 in the product. Think, hundreds are multiplied by tenths. What should the place value of the product be? Thousands. Okay, so 5 times 7 is 35. Now, we have talked about this, and we can say how many place values are in this top number? 2. How many are in the bottom?
1.
Okay, so that equals 3. Do I have enough places? No. 1, 2. So I'm going to have to go over 1, add my 0. Then I'll have a decimal right there. So when I write my answer, it should look like this.
Oh.
That's number 1 on the Sharon Show, page 193. Here's this one. Now they've done this work for you. This is number 2. How many decimal places should we have? A tenth times a tenth is a 100. So we should have 2. Do we have 2? Nope. Gotta go over. Put in our 0, put in our decimal, and there are no 1s. 600. And this is number 3. Okay, and 2 times 2 is 4. Now, in this one we have hundreds and tenths. So what's our place value going to be? 1,000. So 2 times 2 is 4. And then we need a 0 to get us to the hundreds and a 0 to get us through the tenths. And so you'd have 0 and 0, 0, 4, or 0 and 4 thousandths. Okay, these are number 7 and 8 on page 193, and 3 times 3 is 9. And we need how many decimal places? A tenth times a tenth makes a hundredth. Okay, the next one, 5 times 3 is 15. Now we have hundredths and tenths. So how many decimal places do we need? Our number needs to be in the thousandths.
Oh, shoot.
This is number 9 and number 11. Let's do that real quick. 2 times 4 is 8. We have thousandths and tenths, or we have 2 and 1, so that makes 3. So we need 1, 2, 3. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at this. If you can't remember that thousandths times, or hundredths times tenths is thousandths, you can just count them like that. 2 times 9 is 18. Again, we have hundredths times tenths. So we need to make our last digit of our number be in the thousandths place.